Hey guys, I'm back, and this will I think be part 4 of our Apush test series, Apush test 2, and this is dealing with Franklin Delano Roosevelt and the Shadow of War. First of all, we'll hit on the London Conference. What is the London Conference? The London Conference is a comprehensive conference to stop inflation in the world, and it was invitation to different nations. However, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, as per his New Deal policies, wanted to keep the value of the dollar very low. In other terms, keep inflation high so that people will spend more. And so he didn't send people, and obviously it failed. That's what happened. So the London Conference, and a good neighbor. What's a good neighbor? A good neighbor is someone who someone who basically is hands off. And in a way, this is FDR's policy during this period, the Shadow of War, 1933 to 1941. FDR doesn't really want to impose anything on Latin America, and this is unlike his cousin Theodore Roosevelt, who expands America's power as an imperialistic nation, and he introduced the Canal by supporting Panama rebels and others of those sorts. That's his good neighbor policy, and this built better relations during World War II, and partially FDR made this pact or this policy so that Latin America would not fall prey to different Axis sentiments and Axis philosophies, and you can see why in a time of great turmoil why this is good for the USA. And I've already talked about the dictators in another video, so please check that out. I've talked about Hitler, Mussolini, Franco in detail, and I want to touch on the Lend-Lease Act today, or in this video. The Lend-Lease Act is one of the most momentous laws to ever pass in Congress, because it was basically an insult and a slap in the face to Axis dictators. Because Axis dictators were now basically facing allies, that is to say Britain and France, who were helped by the Americans. And I mean helped by because they were basically giving arms, and they were lending and leasing arms to Britain and consequently France. So that's that. And then different ships were sunk by German submarines and other stuff and all that. So that brought us closer to war. Another very important pact is the Kellogg-Briand Pact. The Kellogg-Briand Pact is a pact that makes war illegal except for defensive measures, which, if you think about it, really doesn't make sense, because what else defensive measures do you have than sorry, I'm typing in, I'm thinking something else. Yeah, what reason do you have to to go into war when like some other nation attacks you? Like, that's the only reason. And if war is illegal in the first place, a nation cannot attack you, so the whole thing doesn't make sense. But that's a great idea, but doesn't really work out. Sorry, I'm typing. And then we have Hitler's U-boats, or Unterseeboats as was called in German, and it was basically, they operated in wolf packs, and they basically attacked American warships. And one person said that you can see from New Jersey the ship being sunk from the shore by Hitler's submarine. So that's that. America and World War II. I won't really talk about World War II much because I've already talked about it. I'll just mention some key battles on the European front. On the European front, we have the Battle of the Bulge, which is Hitler's last offensive, the Ardennes offensive, and then we have different other things like we have different other battles like sorry guys, really sorry. Okay, something is bothering me. Okay. And we have different battles like the Battle of Stalingrad, the turning point in the European frontier, which is basically the turning point, as I said. And it was because Hitler made a fatal mistake in the Soviet front where he attacked Stalingrad instead of Moscow. Now he attacked Stalingrad as personal ego because Stalin, it bears the name of Stalin, and he says in a speech, I came upon a city that said Stalingrad, and I thought to myself, what other better way to humiliate Stalin than attack Stalingrad? So he attacked Stalingrad, which was a fatal mistake in my opinion, but once again, my opinion doesn't really count, and it's more about the facts. And then the Battle of Britain, where bombings took place. Then the Battle for France, the Battle of Netherlands, the Battle for Denmark, the Battle for that's another one. The Battle for Norway, the Battle for Sweden, the Battle for Switzerland in a way. And it's all these different battles. And it is important to mention the Nazi-Soviet Pact was an agreement signed between Hitler and Stalin, and consequently the German foreign minister Joachim von Ribbentrop and Molotov, the Russian foreign minister. It basically guaranteed the death of Poland, and World War II started officially on September 1st, 1939. Then on the Japanese front, you have the Battle of Okinawa, the Battle of Iwo Jima, the Battle of Midway, the Battle of Coral Sea, and these are very crucial battles. And the most crucial battle is the Battle of Midway, which is the turning point in the Pacific front, and that was the Battle of Midway. And then you have the Japanese internment camps, which Japanese people were basically deprived of these rights, and they were basically because of fear of inside assistance, and they were detained in camps, and the Supreme Court ruled that these were constitutional in the case Korematsu v. U.S. I mean, where does it say that you can put people in camps and it's constitutional? I'm not trying to say anything against the USA, but we tend to overlook this period, and we tend to just gloss over it. But there are periods in American history where the Americans have behaved really bad, and I'm an American too, and I feel that way. But I mean, facts are facts. There are ways, and I think that it's false to portray ourselves as a perfect nation. Obviously, each person should be nationalistic, in my opinion, and patriotic. But yeah, I really shouldn't have said that. That's more my opinion. Sorry, guys, I should not have said that. And then that's that. And then the Bracero program is very important. Mexicans were brought over because of the shortage of agriculture farmers, because they were fighting on the European front, the Pacific front. Oh, and also something very important. I forgot this, but it's Pearl Harbor. The day we will live in infamy. December 7th, 1941 was when we entered the war. That's basically it. Then you have the Yalta Conference, the Casablancan Conference, the Tehran Conference, the Potsdam Conference, the Nuremberg trials to try Nazis. In the Yalta Conference, basically, Stalin agreed to free elections in Eastern Europe and all that. Then in the Potsdam Conference, Stalin said, no, I'm not doing that. And Stalin basically Truman heard word that the atomic bomb was detonated successfully, and he said, okay, let's do this in the Pacific front. And then the Casablancan Conference, where the fate of Italy, I believe, was decided. Let me just check that up. I'm not sure. I don't want to give you guys false information. Give me a second. Casablanca Conference. Yeah, so let me just talk meanwhile while I'm checking this out. The Casablanca Conference was basically in Morocco, so that's North Africa. So basically, what it said was the Allies should seek the unconditional surrender of the Axis powers, and it also called for Allied aid to Soviet Union, and it also was a decision to open up a second front in France instead of the Balkans, and then it basically, I think, yeah, yep, the Casablancan Conference decided D-Day. Now, the Tehran Conference decided the fate of Italy and how they would invade and all that. And that's basically it. Just looking through my notes and my book to see if there's any more. Oh yeah, the atomic bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima. That's pretty important. I mean, people were slaughtered in that, and it's a pretty terrible thing to think about. One bomb killing 70,000 people instantly, 60,000 after, another killing 80,000 people instantly, 50,000 after. I mean, these are big numbers, and these are real civilian people. And all in all, just to wrap up this whole thing, World War II claimed 40 million casualties in total, 25 million citizens, 15 million military, so citizens outweighed military, and then the Soviet Union was responsible with the burden of 20 million casualties. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this, or if not enjoyed, learned something from it, hopefully, otherwise there's no purpose. And once again, thank you. I'm going to call her Mary because I don't want to use a real name. So thank you, Mary, for asking me about this at school. It was really a good experience, and I hope it really helps you on tomorrow's test. And remember, you can always ask me for questions in school or at lunch or whatever, but that's more my personal life, so I don't want to get too personal with the millions of YouTube video viewers who are hopefully going to see my channel one time in the future. Okay, Rohit's on. I should not have said my name.